Thanks for joining us in this series as we talk about vision. We've spent the last over a year now spending time together, praying together, seeking God together, talking to one another in staff and leadership meetings and all of that kind of thing, really pressing into God for one question, which is, what should our church look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And through that process, we've written down a number of statements that we think when we pull it all together, it paints a good picture of what God's asking us to build here as a congregation, and also for us as a team who, actually work in the church and lead the church. And so I'm here with Rob McIntosh, who's one of our pastoral team, and we're going to just casually chat about this statement. We haven't planned it. We don't know what's going to happen, but we just want to talk around this statement about welcoming environments. So let me read it out, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions, and let's just see where it goes, Rob. We create welcoming environments that help all to feel at ease and ready to meet with God. Rob, this can apply to a number of different areas, like church on Sunday and homes and all of that kind of thing. Why do you feel it's actually necessary? Surely God is all-powerful. He can come in the most uncomfortable of scenarios and bring people encounters, right? He could meet people wherever. So why is it important that the environment is pleasant and helps people to feel at ease?
It's a great question. You think when God created man and woman, he made them to be part of a family. And so we have that built-in desire to be accepted, to have a place. I remember this singer, Michael W. Smith, from a different era. And he wrote this song about, we're all trying to find our place in this world. And one of the best places to find that is family. Now, family can be a skewed word, right? Because people have had different experiences with family.
Some people, it's quite a painful environment, their family.
That's right. But a healthy family, like the dream family, they do movies and sitcoms about that kind of thing. People are not going to be perfect, but they're going to be accepted. So even before, don't you love the experience that we saw when Jesus was being baptized? The heavens open, Holy Spirit descends in the form of a dove, and even before Jesus does anything, the Father says, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased."
Hey, everyone, that's my boy. He's welcome.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, I love that. I think it's interesting. This is a conversation that we have quite a lot about welcoming environments and what can we do practically, and if I think about Sundays and, anything that's actually happening in the church building, we pay quite a bit of attention to it, don't we? Sure. Like, what helps someone to feel welcome? How do we, it's almost like we're trying to remove friction from people's experience. We know that God can come in and, wake someone up in the middle of the night and have kind of like a divine moment of encounter, for sure. But we also know that when we're tired or grumpy or insecure or fearful or uncomfortable, we're far less likely to be able to engage with the presence of God, to really receive, right? So what are some of the things that we practically do at church to try and help people feel at ease?
Yeah, we've always been a church that have had people at the door welcoming people when they first come in. And even, it's going to be a team. Some of the ones that are a little more natural at it will be in more key positions, but anybody can do this. And anybody can be coached in this, mentored in this. Actually, Steve Long, our senior leader, I've noticed him in terms of how he connects with people. And he is sincere. He'll joke about himself not being, if you want to find a real loving person, talk to my wife. But he really is, right? And I'll see him talk to kids. I remember hearing this years ago, when you talk to a kid, it really goes an extra way if you crouch down and talk to them at their level. And so I do that from time to time, but I love connecting with them. And if you can pick out something that's particular to them, they made a decision to put those shoes on. Little kids that have shoes that light up or whatever. I've seen that. Yeah, when you can highlight something that's particular to them, it's that accepting. But yeah, so having people there to welcome them, because we had to have all these protocols in the COVID period, we developed a more cohesive, designed usher team.
Right.
And this has been really neat, Ben. Like we've taken the opportunity to get them in their positions, and then we'll pray for the team members and bless them, fill them up with the love of God, because they're going to encounter people.
That's right.
And actually, I remember you talking about this one Sunday. You came in a little bit late, and so you had to go through the longer queue.
Yeah.
And how many people greeted you by the time you got to your seat? It was a notable thing to you.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a shift in our culture.
That's right. And those kinds of things are powerful.
Exactly.
Right? Like I get to my seat with no question of whether I'm welcome and wanted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think those sorts of gifts of hospitality that we can celebrate and bring is huge.
Yeah.
And I'm also, even as we're chatting about this, I'm thinking about some of the more culturally relevant things that, really in the kingdom of God, I don't think coffee's that important. But there's something about being able to walk into a building that's unfamiliar and, go and get a sprinkled donut and a nice cup of coffee that helps me to feel like, okay. Like I feel okay. I feel at ease. This is familiar. It's a great cup of coffee. And my interaction with the barista was really positive. And, it was easy to find a parking space. And, I think all of those things, if they can help us to feel relaxed, we're so much more likely to get ready to meet with God, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I love that. Well, obviously, we know that church is far beyond what just happens in the building on a Sunday. So what do you think we can do as individuals to create these kinds of welcoming environments for people to, encounter God?
Yeah, one of the things I like to do, we do have a center at the back of the church where people can come for the first time. I don't know if you remember, we used to have a big map on the wall where all of our small groups were in the neighborhoods. And so it's very old school, but it was something visual. And so now we have a Connect screen that our team helped put together, and it really looks good. And it's lit up. So people come and will connect there. And what I love to do when I'm there is try to introduce them to somebody else in the church. And like on the usher team, when we have more ushers on a given Sunday than we need to fill the positions, I love that, because we'll have some that are floaters. And just go, once people get sat down in the auditorium, right now we got to do the distancing, but go and talk to them, because if you visited a church and you're there on time, and a lot of the regular attenders are maybe barely on time or a little bit late, usually when we go to a church the first time, we're there early. And so now we're sitting there for 15, 20 minutes. You can only read that bulletin so many times, so people are maybe on their phones or whatever. When somebody comes up and talks to them, and sometimes they might not want a long conversation, but just, a couple of questions. Hey, I'm Rob, good to meet you. I'm not sure if I've met you before, because that happens a lot, where you've met people more than once, right? And, just see where the conversation goes. If it develops, and, Joe's walking by and say, hey, Joe, come on in for a second. I want to introduce you to my new friend here. It starts to widen the circle. So when that kind of happens as a cultural thing, that's amazing, because now it's not just one person. Particularly, I wear a staff badge, so that's kind of a discount in a way, because they could perceive that I'm doing that because I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
But when that's a culture of hundreds of people in our church, that's amazing.
Yeah, and powerful.
Yeah. It's sincere, it's real.
What about in the context of our homes? How can we live a life that is creating a welcoming environment for people?
Yeah, like in our homes, I remember reading about this years ago, that how you even design your place. If you have a constricted walkway, very narrow, there's stuff all over it, and people have to kind of negotiate their way through the toys or whatever to get to the door, you might not mean it, but it makes them feel like they're unwelcome. So the last time we did a walkway, we designed it really wide by the driveway, and then it goes into a more narrow space into the front door. And I think ways that we can do that, like when we have small group meetings, and when people come to our home, they're welcome to knock on the door and come in. But I always like to make sure one of us that's already there goes to the front door, greets them, takes their coat if they're wearing a coat, and has a bit of chit chat, and then you walk them into the kitchen where you're getting your drinks and stuff. It's like when you go into a store and you ask, I need to pick up some paper clips. Which aisle is that in, right? And depending on the store, sometimes their culture is they're going to walk you all the way to the aisle.
Yeah.
And and then there's the talk time during that whole little journey. It's just small talk. So, yeah, when we can have personal conversations. Another thing is really good is when you're talking to people, and I'm medium good at this, Ben. Sometimes I'm better than others. Depends on how much is going on in my mind, right? But remember what they're going through, whether it's good stuff or challenging stuff, or you could start with what's going on in the city and talk about that. So instead of talking about ourselves, let's talk about what's going on with them, right? That makes people feel valued and welcome.
Rob, I think you embody this statement really well. And I love being around you because you make me feel at ease. And I think if we can have a whole congregation that lives a life of making people at ease, I feel like there's such a warmth that is going to invite people to Jesus. And I'm excited to think about that in the future as we grow and as we get better and better at doing this.
Yeah.